All right. Welcome, everyone. Or no one yet, right? Yeah. Welcome. Welcome to a Saturday edition of Black and White. I'm Kevin Cunningham. And today we are joined by Gareth, also known in the DJ world, the one and only Saxxon.
Good evening. How you doing, Kev?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you? There, here's your round of applause. Listen.
Whoa, got sound effects.
Listen, I told you, man, this is not a low-budget show. Okay?
Pro job, man. Pro job. We got this.
I have people come in every week that sit behind me that I pay to applaud for the intro. That wasn't. Bro. I appreciate that. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Living real life people. That's how I like it.
Listen, man, you guys deserve the best.
I remember that.
I don't want anybody, think that I'm cutting corners over here. But absolute pleasure to have you.
Lovely to be here.
I mean that. We joke around a lot, so I have a feeling that you might be like, yeah, right. You don't mean. I really do mean that. Honor and a pleasure. I do mean that. Such a.
You sound sarcastic in everything you do, so we'll just roll with it.
That's kind of the problem. Like my family, my son and my significant other. I can't call her my wife. We're not married, but we've been together for 14 years. She's pretty much my wife. They don't want to answer me half the time.
You wait for the perfect moment.
Don't say that.
So
shame on you. I like to ease into things. Anyway, moving on. We don't want to stick around there too long. So how are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
Obviously busy. Music as always.
Yes, keeps the fuel in the fire, man. I got to stay busy.
Yeah,
stay
absolutely. Yeah.
Passion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, man, I'm good. In general, I'm a lot healthier than I was before the pandemic, to be fair.
Good. You look good.
Lack of airplane food.
Yeah, you look good. Hair looks nice. You look well. You look well maintained. Yeah.
I've been having a little me time. Not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, good for you. It's important.
It's been good. What about you, man? What's been new?
I guess probably the same. But I will say this: I have been on the opposite end of healthy. I think the pandemic has been a little, but it's my own choices. I've put on probably about 10 pounds since the pandemic, but what can you do? Summer's coming. I'm gonna work it off.
Get that beach bod.
That's the plan. It's always the plan.
Man.
Oh, look at you.
Kissing them guns.
Listen, I'm telling you what, you're motivating me. You look so good. I'm like, I gotta step it up.
Well, the main thing that I did, which is like revolutionary for me, for somebody who really doesn't like being cold at all.
Yeah.
It's always like something I've hated, hence why not living anywhere too cold. I was I'm quite fortunate to live by the sea, and I was looking at the sea, like once October comes, you don't really swim in it. It's like pneumonia central. Everybody says stay away from the sea. I was looking to get a wetsuit so I could swim all winter.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I was like really kind of down about missing out my favorite form of exercise.
Yeah.
Like the swimming pools. And my buddy here, Milto, he suggested I looked into the Wim Hof method.
I have a buddy here who does that, swears by it.
For doing the cold exposure and enjoying it. And honestly, the first time I entered the water when it was cold, it was immediately fine. So my big achievement this winter was swimming all the way through the winter, whether it was raining, sleeting, snowing.
No wetsuit.
No wetsuit.
Oh, man.
Just building it up from when it wasn't too cold. Your skin literally gets thicker. And it was at the point where I couldn't hit a line where it was too cold. It was fine. Me and my friend who've been doing it are actually quite tempted to go and do the real Wim Hof weekender and do the actual.
So are you doing like, aside from the cold water, which is supposed to be good for your immune system and all that, are you doing like the breathing techniques that come along with that and all of that, the whole kind of thing, Wim Hof?
Yeah, I mean, that was part of the reason. For example, I tried to swim like last May when it was a little bit too early still, and it took all of the air out of my lungs, like it was a real shock to the system. But just breathing down to your belly, while you're not even having to do any specific techniques, just by breathing down to your belly and breathing normally like that and deeply, it sort of overrides all that body shock stuff. And there's not even a whiskey face anymore. Honestly, I started to understand. I wake up in the morning, like, start hungering for that evil bite of the cold. And I have no tattoos whatsoever. I know you do. You probably understand this. I suddenly understood that sort of thing where you're like hungering for that little bit of nice pain. I'd wake up like, oh, I can't wait for it to absolutely cut me to bits.
So you actually adapted to that to the point of where like it became something you enjoyed.
Yeah, basically. It's been a bit of a mind changer, to be fair.
That's interesting.
It does make everything else that usually seems a bit daunting seem super straight once you've done it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So that's like one of the main things. I've been doing like hikes. Like before the pandemic, I'll probably get out of breath going up a flight of stairs. And now me and my buddy Saba can walk literally 6 hours directly up a mountain and barely need to stop. So it's definitely changed.
So you've noticed dramatic changes in, and not just from the swimming side of it, but just in general, just a feeling of better, of healthier, I guess. I don't know, like well-being is overall much better.
If anybody ever suffered from PTSD, anxiety, anything like that, I had some unchecked grief from not really for close family members, and it built up inside me to be in like pains and all these things. And honestly, for the last year, that's pretty much not been existent. Because
from that, you think from the cold water and the Wim Hof sort of techniques,
the whole thing combined, being active every day, doing something every day, and even now, if I get too busy and don't start the day with my good habits, that's the only day where I'm not going to be as on the ball, really. If I'm consistent with other things. So if anybody suffers from anything like that, seriously, find your thing, find something that you can do as an activity that makes you feel good, and just stick at it every day. Honestly, I've been in that department fairly late in my life, and finally getting into a good habit has really shown like why this is something that everybody should be
That's
getting
actually extremely inspirational, man. Like, I mean, for real, because again, I've heard nothing but good things about it. You're again, I have a friend who is all about it, the tub with the ice water and the cold and the breathing. And now you're saying that makes me really feel like that's something that, especially for the anxiety, not just for the health benefits, but for any mental, like you said, PTSD or anxiety, that it goes beyond just the physical aspects of well-being, that it does so much more.
It's all tied in, man. You're exactly right. It's all tied in together. And anybody that suffers anything from that department at all, it's got to be worth a try. And especially if you haven't, I've never been medicated. I've always been against any sort of medication to fix my head. And honestly, if you haven't been medicated at all yet and you're looking for something to try, really, really recommend it, man. Like, I do the cold showers. They're like nothing now.
Did you start with that? Maybe like easing into it. Did you start with the cold showers? Because I know some people do kind of ease in that way.
Yeah, basically, you prep up with a little bit of that. You start off, when you very first start, you have a normal shower, and then you have like 5 seconds of cold at the end or whatever, and you just start extending that longer and longer. And honestly, just for general sharpness, I suffer badly with my ADHD, and these things really help with focus and completing tasks, and not every day, but it definitely makes me a lot more consistent.
Yeah, for sure. That's interesting, man.
And I don't veer only towards the things that I like doing. I sort of just get the list done now, rather than us all being human and being known to do that. So yeah, man, it's been a bit of a change. I didn't announce it, but I've been not really wanting to accept gigs this year because I just want to cement my good habits, really concentrate on music, things. and cement my good habits so they're really like locked into my lifestyle.
It's awesome.
Because honestly, I never really had any good habits before. My only good habit was to definitely finish a tune a day or whatever.
For sure,
I mean?
yeah. Well, we're going to get into that. Track is actually in the Twitch chat. He said, wanted to see what we're up to in here. We're just getting started, so.
Yes, T. What's happening? What's the latest?
We're about to uncover some of Saxxon's deepest, darkest secrets. He doesn't know it yet. Listen, who said to me last week, earlier, they were like, I have a feeling this is going to be like some sort of truth serum. You're just going to like, next thing I know, I'm just talking about some things I didn't think I was going to talk about. Hey, maybe. Maybe not.
Was an oyster.
So you have been obviously in this game for a long time, the music game for a long time. So I'm always curious as to somebody who's an icon like you and been around for a long time. I'm always curious as to, especially being in the drum and bass industry and coming from the UK. That's, you know, the roots are so deep there. What was your introduction into electronic music? Was it were you automatically into jungle or drum and bass, or did it start off with rave music? And then how did that progress from the introduction to the music to getting involved with DJing and then production?
Well, so I started mixing very, very, very young, due to going on holiday with my parents and my sister looking out for me, my sister Lee babysitting me basically. And she, if we get right to the specifics, was kind of seeing a bouncer at this nightclub called New Way in Gran Canaria. And she had to look after me on the night of my parents' wedding anniversary. So she had full responsibility. And basically took me to this club and said, you know, keep stum and we'll be able to go inside here. And they were totally welcoming. And the DJ was like, little kid. I was a little kid. I was under 10, you know what I mean?
You were how old?
I was like 8 years old, I think, at the time, just about 8 years old. And it was all manner of pop music on at the time. And the DJ was like, showing me the turntables and what he did. I was very, very, very interested. I've always had my dad's a jazz musician, so I've always had an interest in music. So I found this an extension of that. And I immediately came home after that trip, and I had no buddies to sort of practice with or anything, or anybody who really understood why I was playing with 2 records. But I definitely was totally into it, even though I had no context to use it in or anything else. I think I got 2 random turntables from a car boot sale, 10 or 20 pounds each, and I think a made to fade mixer or something like that for like 25 pounds out of the newspaper. Wow. And I had no idea for a good few years really about beat matching or anything. I just was playing records, scratching. I learned about scratching. I hadn't really taken on board there was a pitch control on the decks in the club. I was just stuff to absorb. Yeah. You know, I totally missed that part, but I was banging to finding records that I liked. My mum is a trader, antiques dealer, and she used to go around to the car boot sales every other week and see if she could find some cool stuff that had more of a value. So I'd go with her and go through everybody's boxes of records, basically, and started making my collection of some rather random things from hip hop all the way through. But hip hop was starting to be the thing that I was noticing I loved. And then I think I was about 13 or 14, and I went to a record shop in Bury St Edmunds trying to buy some hip hop tunes, and they didn't have any hip hop, but they had jungle. So that was my introduction. It was not through a dance. I was too young to even know about raving, really. I don't think I'd even heard at that point that there was a thing called raves to go to. Do
you recall what year that was, or approximately what year for you when you started record shopping?
90s, early to mid 90s.
Early 90s, like, okay, yeah.
93, 92, 93, 94 that I would have been. So basically these big kids were like showing me all the records, and they're like, no, we can't give you hip hop, but we can give you some jungle. And I went home with a couple of 10 inches that I mixed together, one street beats thing. I don't remember what the other one was, top of my head.
And where were you at? I'm sorry, where was this? What location?
This is Suffolk, hence the Saxxon.
Okay. Yeah.
Saxxon area, or Bury St Edmunds.
Okay.
In Suffolk.
Yep.
And I wish I could remember the name of the record shop. But it was a very dinky little specialist vinyl store. My old mate Jess was in there. I believe at the time she was seeing the guy that ran the place, and she was kind of about to be my MC. She's my long-term, still mates with now, long-term buddy Jess. Oh, the ladies! I was a killer, like, oh, the ladies! Oh my gosh! Yeah. And I think she was in there, which helped them make a fuss of me, I guess. And I came back from there. And then after that, I think I didn't really understand the need to have brand new jungle or get the latest releases. I just wanted to have more jungle records. So everywhere I went, I asked for jungle, and tried to get as many cool records as I could. Nobody else in my whole circle knew what jungle was, so it didn't really matter that I had the new ones or not. They were just like.
So you didn't come from like a, you know, that for you were like the only guy. It wasn't like a bunch of your friends were doing it and you're like, okay, I'm going to do this. Like, you're like, I just like this music. I'm going to start buying records and I'm going to DJ.
Yeah, you can see why I take no interest in trying to fit in anywhere, because I never have. So, and that wasn't me trying to fit in. I just got a buzz for it, you know, naturally loved. My dad was quite happy that I was taking an interest in music, whatever way it was. He was quite happy that I was doing that. And nobody's really bounced off. My mate Nick Rivers, I used to take my decks around here sometimes, and he'd play around. His older brother was quite into it, and I think his older brother was the one that pulled me up on beat matching. Do you know what beat matching is? I'm like, whoa, what's that?
Why do I need to do that? I think
I got some. When I was about 15, I got some Technic 1710s, not the 12. They were the same.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. I think somebody just had recommended trying that just to get my ear in.
Usually easier.
Yeah.
With house. Yeah. At least get the basics.
I got my jungle ear in, and then I started getting book to play books, asked and picked up to play for all the older kids, like house parties.
Great.
And I was very happy to go along and hang out with the older kids and see what was going on, and be this chubby little warrior.
It's a great way to get started, man. You know.
And I think I was asked on Goat Show the other week about the first rave, and I think I mentioned Helter Skelter, but it wasn't. It was doing them in village halls in Suffolk. Like the older kids would hire out a village hall under the pretense of it being something very subdued, and then we'd have a 100 people.
Then you'd have this big event. Well, at the time, big event.
It was
for you guys.
Amazing.
It was a big event. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Isn't that funny how that works? You know. But
so yeah, that's basically it, man. And then to go to make the making it part just literally came from. There's a couple of things. It was watching my mate Dave Stitch play a live set out the back of his van at a rave in Braintree that I just went in and was like mesmerized. I was fairly high.
Did you sit on the back of his van?
Yeah, he had like an escort van, and there was a hangar rave going on, but there was like an outdoor space with a space to dance, and he had his back doors open and the speakers out, and he just had a beat sequencer and a couple of other bits like live gear, and it blew my mind that he was actually creating this music in front of us. And I think that was like one of my first inspirations. And then Billy the Kid, my mate Billy from Mississippi, who I'd met in London, he was persuading me to get into production. He was like, "Oh, you should make tunes. And I was really scared to lose like that amazing thing with drum and bass and jungle where you get no visual, because there was no music videos. You didn't used to have Facebook pictures of everybody and what they're eating for brunch. You'd have no visual like connection to them whatsoever. It was entirely in the imagination. So whatever the track made you imagine, it just made you imagine that. There was nothing else. Just conjured up shapes and all this stuff in your head to me. And I was a little bit concerned about losing that. I was like, no, that's one of the cool things, is you get all this sort of, you can sort of picture these things that it's not attached to like a musical instrument, because none of these instruments are being used or anything that I recognize. So
for sure.
Playing anything. You just had some kind of animated visual, if you like, conjured up. So I think that was the thing that slowed me down for a minute. And then I remember, I think the turning point was going to Rapture Records in Colchester and getting the biggest wedge and they used to look after us really well. But I got the biggest wedge of white labels to go through, like huge chunk of records, and I was going through everything, playing, and I'm like, oh my god, I've got all my money to spend. I've got all these records I'm going through, and I'm at the time I thought of everything in how many records I could get for that amount. Look at some trainers, be like,
I remember that.
well, that's like 14 records for them Nikes. I'm not sure if I want to trade in 14 records for a pair of footwear. I'll get the high tech today and save my budget. And
that
then
becomes number one, yeah.
Yeah, I think I went through this whole pile and was like, no, I couldn't buy anything. I need to make the tunes that are missing, basically. That was the first thing. Make tunes, they were never intended to be released. They were only intended to make tunes. That's what I was inspired by, to make tunes for my DJ sets that nobody else had, and that plugged the gaps between, say, two other vibes that didn't, at that point, have a transition tune that worked between. Do you know what I mean? So that was the thing that started me off, man. It was the need to have some cool stuff to DJ with.
That's great. I think you always kind of hear that seems to be the logical progression. You get involved with the music, you start DJing, then you start making music. But sometimes there's people that get involved with the music by making the music, and then they have to learn how to DJ, which is kind of, I don't want to say backwards. However you do it, but seems to not be the popular way, I should say. I don't know. Not that it matters,
maybe it's
but
a slightly less natural way, but it depends what takes you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're not maybe exposed to raves, and you're just listening to the music, and you think, hey, hang on, I think I could bring something to this arrangement. Then that's a fair way to come in without being a DJ first. So, yeah, and then, some people, they smash it. They learn really quickly. Mm-hmm. Once you get your head around production, you understand all of your, if they're making tunes that are mix friendly in the first place, they already understand the formula and the beat structure and the 16 bar and the crucial breaks and all the things you need to put with it to start putting a mix together. So it's only a matter of time before they crack it, man. Yeah, I don't think there's one sweet route down to it. I'm kind of glad I did it my way. I now, if you put me on a pair of like mismatched belt drives, I can still have it up.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, at this point. So when you got into production, it seems to more that you get involved with something, and the deeper that you dive into these things, more it seems, I don't want to say it seems simple at first, but it's almost like the more that you know and learn, the challenges become greater. Because now you're really digging into this music technically, and getting it to sound properly and all this stuff. It can be a major challenge. Some guys are in it 10, 20 years before they actually lock in, or if you want to call it locked in or whatever. So since you started making music, what do you feel has been your biggest challenge? Has there been like any sort of speed bump as far as, getting music to labels, getting people to listen? What do you feel has been your biggest challenge and then accomplishment?
I think challenges. Every tune has a different set of challenges with it, depending on how you went about. If you went through it methodically, thinking of frequencies at the start, or whether you went on the vibe straight out, that's already, you create yourself a challenge if you go on the vibe straight away, which I'd prefer to, because it should be vibes first, but sometimes you get caught out.
Sure.
Because the things, just the elements don't slot together when you really want to clean them up and make room for everything. So I think that's a case by case. As far as like general challenges, I think the two that stick out in my mind, I've just finished the second album recently. The first album was a behemoth of a project for Lion Dub, where I think at one point I tried to sort of talk the track list down a little bit, and we decided no, to make it a real monster release and make it the 23 tracks and all this stuff. Getting that, because I write on the vibe, to get them all sitting together decently enough to be played one after the other as an album was probably the biggest challenge and the biggest reward, getting it together and it being received all right. Do you know what I mean? It was that was fairly painful. That was a lots of going. Same with this one. It was lots of like going back and forth, waiting for the ears to line up, deciding where you could pull things back a little bit for the balance and all that kind of flavor. But really, I guess in general, is it's more challenging when you don't have a concept and an idea in general. If you're coming in with that, and you've got a clear vision, I have a really good time sticking to that vision and going through. If I make myself a brief, I try not to do something like it anymore. And I think one of the great things about having a bit more time and experience, it's right at the start, one of the major frustrations when you're first learning is you've got no route to get in to the sound you can imagine. Do you know what I mean? And then one of the biggest rewards is getting to the point where you've got the experience to take an idea and realize it exactly to the brief, because there's a lot of pleasure in that in itself. And it's not like you don't just make do with whatever comes out. You're like, no, that is cool, but it's not what I decided. So how do I make it exactly that? And that's the general everyday fun of the challenge, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly think, when you first get started, you're like, it's fun and it's exciting. I got this tune. And then like, the more you actually learn, then this is kind of some things get easier, but I actually think it becomes more difficult, because like the part that becomes difficult is getting the mix. Some of the more technical side of things become a major challenge, so, and you're not necessarily as concerned about those things when you get started. It's all about, oh yeah, I'm making some music. And then you're like, yeah, I am, but it doesn't sound like this and it doesn't sound like that. And you're like, ooh.
I think it's good. Otherwise you'd probably be put off for life.
For sure. Absolutely. If you knew all this stuff that like right away, like,
you'd be like, no, that's way too much time out of my life. That's never. I
gotta mix and master all this too. I was just laying some sounds out, man. Like.
So I think that when I started writing tunes with Russ and we were in Savage Rehab, like the whole thing was to get a tune done. Do you know what I mean? Just get it done. We will learn from. We need the reward of having something finished as best we can, so we feel like we've achieved something. I think that's really important for new producers. Like, I think it's very important. Don't get down with making it perfect. Get a tune out. Yeah. Make it feel like a finished tune, and take all the questions that arose from that situation and all the knowledge, and apply all of that to the next tune, and rinse and repeat that process. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I had a friend. I won't name him. He might be about. Talking about, he's just got into production and he's got everybody giving him different advice. I said, which he's finding a bit overwhelming. And I said, really, my advice to anybody in that situation is which creates the questions which your brain will naturally want to know the answers to. And then because you've actually asked the question yourself, it's not somebody else's question, you'll have a much better chance of it actually going in and being absorbed, because it's the question answer already here. Do you know what I mean? And then build naturally. Each question that arises, make that the quest to find out the answer, make that the quest to find out the solution. And that will in turn create a new track, which will in turn create a new set of problems and things you have to look into. And I think that's the best way you can possibly learn from scratch.
Just kind of take it as it comes. Yeah, take it as it comes.
And seek your own answers. If that's asking a friend, fair enough, but if you're a friend to this new producer, don't give them all the information all at once, because it's too much. True. And there's no way to keep it, because you haven't got any practical knowledge of visualization, of working out where that comes into play. So yeah, I think that helped us anyway. We didn't have any sort of outside information at the time, really. There was certainly nothing you could look up online at the time to get you moving. So it was essential, but I honestly do think that's a good way to go. Like, just go for it, just build, listen to it subjectively, listen to it with the ears of, would I buy this, would I play this, etc. If it's a no, what is it that's different? What needs to be changed about? And just apply that yourself. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You're gonna have a chance of getting to something you're going to like.
Because you can go backwards. Yeah. You can get, like, when people, I know some people have gotten started and they're like, what plugins should I get automatically? And I'm like, listen, you don't want to overwhelm yourself. Learn how music is structured. Lay some stuff out, because what's going to happen is that the more information you can take in immediately, it might throw you off. It might, you might get a bad feeling of how this works, because it can be overwhelming. And then it's counterproductive, because now you're worried about like mixing and mastering and like, don't even get into that. It's too much, especially now with the standards of where things need to be. Let that come, like you said, grow into it. Learn, as at your own pace, and when questions arise, and then you can, and like you said, it's all on YouTube or Google if you have You know, some of it's subjective, some of it is your own taste, but some of it is kind of standards as far as like how to mix and master. Some of those are absolutes.
What are the actual rules that apply?
Sure.
And what are the things you
Sure.
can be agree with? I mean, I like to
Yeah.
break all the rules all the time,
Yeah.
but certain things that you just shouldn't. And when I go back and
Yeah.
actually don't break that rule and be like, oh, I kind of tied it in a little bit better.
Yeah.
All right, stop being such a
Yeah.
rebel. But what about you, man?
But
What
me,
was your
what?
first kickoff point?
So I grew up listening to like 80s pop. I was an 80s kid. I grew up listening to that, and then that turned into like industrial music, like KMFDM and Ministry and all that stuff. And then it turned into, then I got a taste of some rave music in like 91, 92. I used to listen to all the hardcore UK hardcore stuff like ASEN and SL2 and all of that stuff. I was big into that. So I was around like at the 140 BPM sort of thing, and how that just slowly escalated up in BPM to jungle and then drum and bass. And so I started off, through that whole that rave culture thing. I don't know, something about electronic music just always just had an interest, and then just wanted to be more involved. I wanted to be playing music, and then that just led into wanting to make music. So,
Go on, my friend.
You know,
what you got coming up, man? What's coming?
Man, I would love to. You sent me all those pictures. That looks like a freaking travel brochure, man. I'm like, I need to get out there. It's like paradise out there, man. What are you looking
at? What's the AC tune? I'm asking about your music.
Oh, my music. I thought you said, when am I coming out there?
Well, that too. You work that out as well.
I got some things coming. I got some things popping off. I don't want to say too much, man, because listen, this is what happens, and you know this. You talk about what's going to happen, or what you think is going to happen, and this happened with Virus with me a few years back. They wanted a tune, and they put the artwork up online, and it's going to happen, and it never happened. So I just don't say anything anymore, because if it doesn't happen, you look like you're full of shit. When it happens, I'll promote it.
This is very true.
I'll tell you behind the scenes. But I don't want to do it publicly. I don't want to tell anybody in person. Like,
oh, you'll tell me off camera.
Yeah. You're putting your face up to it like I'm going to whisper to you. I'm not going to whisper it to you because everybody will hear it. Yeah. Hold on, let me whisper to you what it is. I'll whisper.
Tell me stuff.
They'll never hear it. That's ridiculous.
Well, I look forward to you unleashing the secrets.
Yeah, I'll send you some stuff.
Private domain.
I'll send you some stuff. But that, that's always a challenge, being patient and not saying things ahead of time, because you get excited about it, but then you announce it and then it doesn't happen, and then you're like, oops.
Also, like, the reason I haven't gone into stuff about my album, any sort of further details, is people's, like, the timelines are different now, I feel. I've discussed it with a few different people. If I first started telling you all the concepts and playing the tracks like 6 weeks ahead of it coming out, people either think it's already come out because they've seen it.
True. Yeah, it's true.
And it's the whole flow is a little bit different now. And I really want to talk about and promo these tracks.
Yeah, I get it, man. I get it. And you work so hard on them. You're proud of them. And hey, Kieran Kajai is in the Facebook chat.
Absolute general.
He is a general. Yeah.
Respect the Kajai. Lovely dude.
Yeah.
What's going on?
You and him, like, he makes me. I love all of it. What you guys make. Listen, and I told him the other day, I was like, man, if you would have told me a few years ago that I'd be, talking to you and him, I never would have believed you. I'm just some little punk well, not a little punk anymore, but an old man from a small town in Ohio. You know what I mean? They don't know how much I'm paying you guys, though, to do this stuff.
$1 billion. But we had a good time, man, when we came for the Playside fun.
I'll tell you what, man. Everybody on, but outside of the music.
I've been in that very yard. I've been to your gaff.
I know you have. I know you've been over here.
Hospitality.
I know.
My pleasure.
It's almost as beautiful as where you live. Aside from our brown water in the lake.
I like it. I
Your
like it.
water
Anyway.
is
We had some
ridiculous,
very
man.
good times. Big up,
Yeah.
Sub. Hope
Well,
he's
everybody
doing
everybody that I've, Suv and you and Keja and the Natty Dub group has been, just amazing people outside the music, and I think that says a lot.
Yeah, man. Phones are always on to each other. Same to you. You know that. And yeah, man, it's all good vibes. No, we had some very memorable adventures. And yeah, of course we'll come and do a podcast. Jeez.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Extremely,
No
extremely
problem, man.
grateful. So, with as you come from. So when you first started, you were buying vinyl. You were a vinyl DJ, and so you've seen the evolution of analog and vinyl to CDs to fully digital.
Yeah.
Do you feel that the evolution into completely digital has helped the industry on the production and music side and the DJ side, or do you think it has done more damage?
How much of a boomer answer do you want?
Listen,
Honestly,
the whole point of this
first
is
saw
for people.
Dillinger
This
playing at
is,
Mass,
yeah. I
with
mean,
his
I just want you to
K1000.
be, feel if you have something you want to say, I want you to say it.
Honestly, but now I've evolved a bit to like format's a format. As like, so from the
Mm-hmm.
dance floor perspective, nobody cares what you're playing it on,
Mm-hmm.
as long as the music is rolling and it sounds good. Ideally, not skipping. So when we're talking digital versus vinyl, we're not talking business. We're not talking how that's affected the ability to like turn your work into like a living. When we're purely talking about the format that's played in the club, digital sounds awesome.
Mm-hmm.
With the evolution from a CD through to the pen drive with no moving parts, the chances of the music stopping is greatly reduced.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And really, when it comes down to this is all about the ravers and the people enjoying the music. It's really important that their party keeps rolling. And with vinyl, as much as I love playing it, and I've had a couple of chances to play vinyl nights and love going back to it. It's like a Sunday drive. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as that goes, you need to be in a venue that doesn't have wobbly floors. It needs to have a rock solid stage. It needs to have ideally a concrete floor before you start worrying about trying to use vinyl.
I remember that.
All those things,
Yeah.
I'm in. But the
Mm-hmm.
amount, like even last time when we were playing vinyl only night in Norwich, my buddy Steve Ballistic for his birthday, I think we had a back-to-back like the good old days. And
Yeah.
took all the favorite vinyl, and it was like riding a bike. It was like, oh, I didn't have a chance to practice beforehand.
Yeah.
And I was so relieved that when the music started rolling that things were still lining up and I could still read a vinyl.
Yeah.
Because it had been a minute, you know what I mean? I hadn't had my Sunday drive for some time. On that side, yeah, as far as like the ravers go, nobody gives two hoots really about the format as long as the music's rolling and it sounds good. As far as the business side, it's to and fro. It means that now producers potentially who are super talented, who might not be able to have a route to a label, have come through. They've had a chance to come through. It's meant that everything else can have a chance to be released, which does water it down, as we all know.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that everybody has an equal chance to do something, I think is pretty magical. And it's certainly brought through some names we wouldn't have had otherwise. So yeah, man, digital's fine. It's just like one of the reasons I'm doing this NFT element of my album is that there's so many elements that have been taken away from us as far as artists getting a fair recompense for their effort. You've got, and I didn't, when I did the UKF article, I didn't go in, I kind of wanted to, but I started to feel bad about my friends that put a lot of effort into it. But really, Spotify, as much as it's and one thing that can be added in the mix, it is possibly the most rotten pyramid selling scheme I've seen, especially in music. It's pure pyramid selling.
I agree.
There's no some guys on 4.4 billion personal fortune while fairly recommends the people who actually created the music he's earning money off. Do you know what I mean? It serves its purpose, has its place.
Mm-hmm.
I almost feel like if that's where you're putting all your time and effort, it's a bit counterproductive.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that's a whole rant I could go into. but really it's something that's there. There's an audience for it. I understand that it perhaps takes away the kind of people that might have been on Napster. They might actually get a little subscription, so they're paying something towards music. That's cool. But it's also opened up a load of people that might have actually gone out and bought some CDs or bought some downloads who are just like, there's no point now. I've got everything at my fingertips. So where does that end? Where does that go? Are we becoming a commodity just to sell Starbucks advertising? That I'm really not into. Drum and bass is rebel music, jungle's rebel music. So aligning ourselves with this corporate edge is a bit weird. And it's certainly not something I put a lot of effort into promoting on that front. It's cool if you want to listen to my stuff on Spotify. That's wicked. Awesome. I'm not going to start shoving everybody that way. Do you know what I mean? So I thought that's the reason, as I said, why I thought it was interesting to look at things like NFTs, how they could possibly evolve. They're not perfect at the minute, but a long shot for us. But with our attention and our demands, I think that NFTs could potentially become something that's a very useful tool within digital music.
Yeah, I agree. 100%.
Not there yet. It's fine. Mine's an experiment. The one I'm dropping is an experiment. I've got no aspiration. I don't care if it sells or not. I want us to be talking about it.
Sure.
I want us to be demanding something that's more music related and demanding something that's better, that ties in better. And that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, unfortunately, and being something you're so passionate about as far as music and DJing, anything in the arts, anytime it comes off as it being devalued or it doesn't have value to an artist or musician or anybody who is in a creative field, it almost feels like a slap in the face. You know damn well how much time and effort you put into that. Yeah, you enjoy it, okay? But other people are also enjoying it, and someone's making money off of that. Obviously, you don't do it all about money.
When 90% of you that's getting it, there's an issue. Do you know? And 90% is taken most of the time. And that's just not cool. That's not how I'd choose to do business with anybody on any level. You know?
I didn't, and I was starting to make a lot of music, and you got to get your Spotify profile handled. I did for a second, and then I'm like, wait a minute. I don't care about my Spotify profile anymore. I want to remove all of my music off of Spotify. But again, I'm small time. I'm peanuts, But you look at some of these artists on a larger scale, think about, top 40 artists who are on Spotify, who are getting nothing. I mean, nothing. Yeah, I don't mean nothing, but peanuts.
If you compare it to previous models of those kind of numbers, it's really a slap in the face.
It's a slap it is. It's a slap in the face, hands down.
I'm fine with his existence. I'm fine with his existence. What I'm not fine with is all the focus that's put on it as it's his important thing. I mean, how much like selling your soul for a gig is giving all your music away, hoping that, but you get gigs off the back of it. I'm not pushing my Spotify. I do pretty well for gigs, by the way, guys, and it's not because I'm hot on Spotify.
No, I know. Listen, I get it, man. It's just it's that catch there, man. Like, and I'm guilty of the same thing. Like, oh, wait a minute. Now all of a sudden, getting gigs, like your music is now your promotional part of your promotional thing, making the music. How much time and effort you've put into making music, not just on that one tune, but the past 15, 20 years, however long you've been doing it, like, and all of a sudden now that's just something you're supposed to just give away as a promotional tool to get some gigs. It's just, I don't know.
It sounds a little bit suspect to me. But as I said, anyway, it's part of the repertoire. It's something that's there and that's cool. Yeah. But I definitely think if we're going to be covering that ourselves as artists, we should definitely be covering the other things too. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. I'm not saying dispense with it. It's like boycott it or anything. It's a thing, and it does get music into places that you wouldn't be heard.
For sure. So that's where you have that little struggle. You know what I mean? Like, could it help you? Yeah, but is it burning you at the same time? Yeah, it's that weird place.
Yeah, like it's a bit of a rinse out. But but yeah, have it there, but really explore the other ways to make sure you're looking after yourself and your own state of mind, because being valued in any type of job, in any kind of role, should not be frowned upon. Having a value should not be frowned upon in anything. If anything we learned through the pandemic, surely is that the value that we give things perhaps aren't the right way around, considering how much the arts helped everybody.
Sure, absolutely.
point, whether they're creating or just enjoying the escapism from them. How much value to our humanity's general state of mind that pays.
For sure.
And therefore, should we all be satisfied with the people that created those things being left running around? You know what I mean? So definitely something to discuss and look into.
Yeah,
and think.
Absolutely. I agree. Hey, okay, so want to know some mildly personal stuff. Are you good with that? Mild,
Ben's,
man. Like, we're not getting into,
You want to know about my third nipple?
No.
It's true. Call me
Listen, if you want to share that, I'd love to. If you want to lift your shirt up and show me your third nipple, I'm all about it, man. Or a six, or a sixth toe, or extra finger, man. I'm all about it, man.
I might be from the countryside of Norfolk and Suffolk, but there's no web toes or anything. Just anyway, what do you want to know?
That leads me to believe that you do have something, but you're just not. You just kind of give a little hint, a little hint.
On the side. Little nipple.
What, on your hip? You got an extra nipple on your thigh or something in a weird spot?
Right in the middle of my back. I love a shoulder roll. Come on, baby. You got the thumbs for the job. Come on, give us your super direct personal question.
It's mild, like just,
I'll spice it up if you need to. What you got?
Oh, a guy, one of my friends in the Facebook. I'll just hit this real quick because we could go on this. We gotta speed this up a little bit. He asked if the U.S. drum and bass producers have a different style of production sound than the U.K. producers. So, I'm just gonna give you my input on this real quick. Being from the U.S., is that when drum and bass at its beginnings, the U.S. was at a largely disadvantage, just because we were trying to catch up to all the production standards that were already in the UK. I mean, that is so deeply rooted in the UK that we, aside from just the arrangement of music, we couldn't figure out how you guys were getting stuff to sound a certain way. And that is such a big thing with drum and bass, the production standards. Huge. I don't think people realize what a challenge that can be to get a track to sound at a level where it needs to be. So it wasn't only the arrangement of the tunes, it was the overall quality of the tunes that Americans struggled with for a while. And we didn't have YouTube. Nobody from England was coming over here and telling us what to do. It was, we were at a huge disadvantage, again, but I mean, that's to be expected. So I think in many ways, the U.S. drum and bass sounded different. Just the arrangement, the style of the music, the sound quality, just wasn't there, and it took a while. To get up to par with, you guys were the gatekeepers, man. You guys had that sound locked down, and that's to be expected.
And, like you say, the sharing of information between individuals was definitely out and happening and inspiring each other over here. So there's certainly been information you won't get a hold of. But I do remember early examples of amazing American drum and bass. There was, oh my God, so the Carl K stuff that was happening on Human Imprint, Diesel Boy, Carl K, all those guys, that, like, late 90s was like some next level sound. I was getting every one of these records like, rah, these guys are on it. This sounds so far in the future. The production on those tunes were amazing. Do you know what I mean? They used to blow my mind. So I've certainly never had the impression of thinking of any American producers as lesser at all, from my perspective anyway. I remember a CD around 96. I wish I could remember the actual title of it. But that was all American produced. I think Russ from Savage, his dad he'd found it in a record store in America and brought it back as he's like, cool, listen to some American drum and bass. And it was wicked. Whatever the CD was wicked. And he got my boy AK1200, who've got tons of projects together that are on the brew. He was one of the first people. I didn't know he was American, really. I said there's not a lot of information, but I certainly remember loving his early tracks. And they were the stuff on Metalheads and stuff he did with Danny Breaks and Those being real standout tunes for me at the time. So man, I've never looked down anything from another country.
So let me be a little more clear on that. I would say earlier on, prior to that, before the United States, some guys from the U.S. and the U.K. we started bringing guys over, and I think there more of a connection developed between the people at the early stages. I could not get things to sound. It's awful, and a lot of the guys, it just wasn't, and trying to get information was very difficult. But like you said, I wouldn't say it took a long time, but people were so into the music and were wanting to figure out once more relationships developed with the guys that would come over and stuff like that. You started to see a definite improvement in the overall quality and standards of what was coming out of the United States. Initially, it was a large hurdle. I mean, for me at least, but again, maybe not for everybody.
I mean, maybe slightly behind when you explained it like that in on catch-up mode a little bit, but I feel like the catching up happens in the grand scheme of things fairly fast.
Yeah. Well, good. Yeah, I'm glad you think that. Maybe that's in my head then. Maybe it's in my head. But
I think, without naming anybody, I think that's in every American's head. I guess
might
it's
be.
A bit, you're a UK producer making reggae or something like that, and you're like, is it quite the reggae that they love in Jamaica, or is it just my version of reggae? I'm not quite sure. But
yeah, you might be right about that. It might be in my head more, but that was just my perception of it. Your perception obviously is different, which is cool. That's cool to hear.
Only because I've been tied into, through more luck than judgment in a lot of cases, tied into America's output for drum, bass and jungle from quite early on, and was never negative about it. And
well, that's good.
More important, impressed. Like what Human Imprint were doing at the time, to me, was some of the best sounding drum and bass I could get my hands on. I couldn't wait till another one of those records came out from those guys.
I'll send you what I did for Human Imprint. Did you ever hear it?
Maybe not.
Did you ever? I did something. I did a Slayer and Pantera based thing for Human Imprint back in 2003. Metal.
Oh, no, I never heard that.
Yeah.
Around the time of a few others of that flavour knocking about.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'd love to hear that.
I got a lot of shit for that.
That's good. That's what happens when you break new ground. You get shit
for that. I actually made it as something I was just going to play when I DJ'd. And then Damien heard it and he's like, what is that? Is that like available? I'm like, it's available if you want it.
Oh, raw. That's awesome, man.
So, yeah, I'll send it.
Some of my most popular tunes are the ones that I literally just wrote for me and had no intention of being released.
Yeah.
Didn't even want to release them, and I still wish I hadn't. Just because they're for me. But some of those,
I do the same thing. I'm like, damn, now other people have them. Yeah.
I've always feel I'm a DJ first. I make tunes to have stuff in my set, so I always feel a little bit gutted when things come
But
out.
I want people to hear it too. I'm like, wait a minute, why am I holding on to this? Like, I want this is to be heard. But wait a minute, but I don't want anybody else to hear it unless I play it.
That's it. Complete.
Hey, Jaxie is in the Facebook chat.
What's up, Mr. Jax, my brother? What's going on, homeboy?
All right. Moving on. You are in. Where are you at? Where's your location at the moment?
I'm in Greece.
You're in Greece. Awesome. That's right. I kind of remember that. He lives in paradise, pretty much. That's why he looks so good. He's in a good mood. He's moving on up. I gotta move to Greece, man. So living.
It's been a very long-term plan.
Good for you, man. What is your favorite food all time? If you were stuck on an island, something you would have to eat the rest of your life every day.
I have to go back to the roots on this one. My favorite, personally, probably the first thing I learned to make for myself would probably still be the thing that I could get stuck on quite easily. And I have it as a treat every now and again, which is cheese and beans on toast with loads of Worcester sauce. Simple, amazing, love it.
This is why I asked this question, because people are like, why are you asking a dumb? It's actually an awesome question, because one of my friends was like, peanut butter.
Peanut butter.
Peanut butter. You just said cheese. I'm sorry. Did you say cheese? You say cheese and beans on toast. That's what you said, right?
You toast it one side and you toast on the grill. You flip it. You lash loads of Lea and Perrins in the bread so it goes a bit dark. I like it really spicy, right? And you layer a layer of beans, baked beans, Heinz beans with tomato sauce. You know the ones.
Yeah.
And then a little bit more Lea and Perrins if you're dirty like me. And then lay some either grated cheese or 3 nice, decent, thick slabs of sliced on top. And then you lower the grill a little bit so it really browns off. And the browning also happens with a little bit more Lea and Perrins. My mum used to buy me a massive bottle for Lea and Perrins for Christmas, and I'd go through it by Boxing Day.
So wait a minute. There's a top and a bottom to it. It's not like open. It's not so it's.
Oh no, it's open.
It's open.
Exposed.
Okay.
You just toast on the other side so it's not like soft and it has to be a little bit crunchy. Not too crunchy, a little bit crunchy.
We're gonna need to talk about this more off later on because I'm gonna need to make a beans and cheese on toast.
I've learned some pretty good Greek meals while I'm here, but if you're asking for ultimate,
I'm asking for like, listen, we don't have anything else on the planet to eat besides beans and cheese on toast. Are you good with that? The rest of your life.
It's all the major food groups. I'm covered. Honestly, I shouldn't eat every day, especially I'm trying to keep the tummy smaller. It's not a daily thing. But if I fancy a little something treat-like at the weekend, I'll get me some of that. It's good stuff.
Jack said cheese and beans on toast is dank.
It is. Jack's
I'm going to make it.
He knows
I'm
the
going to
drill.
make it.
We've learned here because my buddy makes amazing food all the time. I was trying to find him something that he wouldn't have had before. And in January, it's a terrible time considering I'm trying to be really healthy on every front. I literally don't buy unhealthy things. That's how I stay really healthy. I just don't buy the things that are unhealthy that I like. Simple. But we're like, right, smash burgers are the best burgers in America. Like, how do we learn how to make? Because they started selling the brioche buns in the local supermarket. I'm like, rah, that's one of the main elements that we require.
Yeah.
And then looked up a pretty decent recipe, and which my buddy Toby Bamford and my budding designer had also looked up exactly the same recipe, and he's been making exactly the same one. And you make the burger juice with Worcester sauce. Again, it's more Worcester sauce. The burger juice is butter, Worcester sauce, and a couple of little drops of fish sauce, which you don't really taste. It just gives it a little zing. And then smash style. That's been the most recent thing that's been added to the repertoire.
You're making me hungry, man. It sounds good. I like simple food, man. I do too. I mean, sometimes that's the stuff that you always go back to, you know. Jax, I guess, is a pretty amazing cook.
The deal with the smash burgers was as soon as we made them once, we're like, we can only have these once a week. It's the rule. We're not allowed to do them any more than
moderation.
Once a week.
You got to be allowed to, have some things that you, yeah, just in moderation. So I would ask you, but I already saw you. I'm not judging. I'm just going to ask you. Bad habits. But
what
you were like, what would you consider things that you do that's a bad habit that you still have?
Procrastination. Allowing procrastination is the worst habit.
That's your worst habit.
I think I've got rid of
not the smoking.
I have lots of bad, annoying ADHD things that other people would see as bad habits, but I'm probably not aware of them.
So you're gonna take the procrastination over to smoking?
That is part of it. Exactly. Procrastination and smoking go hand in hand. She's like, I'm gonna do this, but just before I do, I'm actually gonna have a little cigarette.
Those go hand in hand.
They do go hand, and they are. Smoking is literally the addictive form of procrastination. They are.
So you're like, I'm gonna get to that after I smoke the cigarette. So the cigarette is leading to some of the procrastination.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Yeah.
My whole thing about all these things that I do for focus is to eliminate as much as possible. All the things I listed at the start of the chat, more than any anxieties or PTSD things or anything else, is minimizing procrastination. Is minimizing the time I allow myself to be.
That's a good one, man.
And just like, oh, look at this thing. Oh, it's an article about a whale that made friends with the dog, and I must read the whole thing now. It's really important. They are such good friends.
Stu Keating is in the Facebook chat. Sicka, what up?
What's up, nigga? Salute. What's going on?
Give him a salute.
Big jungle salute. But yeah, man.
All right. Is there anything, I know there is about me, and sometimes it's hard to identify. What do you feel that people can misinterpret about you?
Lots of stuff, because I don't say a lot. You could see like the one time I actually say something in like 3 or 4 months and make your own mind up about that and not get to know me at all. Because when I let myself out on video, generally it's because I need to do something to do with a project or whatever. I'm never that like super comfortable with it. People go, "Oh, you're really comfortable on camera." And no, I really don't find it natural at all. In fact, I don't do it enough to ever really get to being like a natural me. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's always like a little bit like doing a presentation or some shit. It's not quite like the chill version of me. It's just I don't do it very often. So I think there could be that. There could be, I know that, for example, the one that plays on my mind that I could address right now is the amount of people I seen zone on Facebook and general inboxes. He must think that I've just seen it and went, fuck you. But I am so distracted sometimes, or right in the middle of something, or the phone rings right after, and that's something that plays on my mind basically. And I'm sure people think I'm being ignorant when I'm not. I really do plan to get back to everybody. It just doesn't always happen. I haven't got a place in my mind, especially for people I don't know in real life. There's no like place to link that memory to get back to them. So
yeah, I get it, man. I get it.
Probably come across very rude.
Yeah.
But I wish I had time to get back to everybody about everything. But then sometimes I kick into like, no, I have my own plan already today. I must do that. I can't spend the whole day like.
KJ was kind of saying that just everybody's, we're so busy anymore. Everybody's just so busy. It's not intentionally if I don't get back to you, whatever. By the end of the day, I'm like, oh, I remember at the end of the day to get back to that person, but it's too late.
I'll give you my full attention, and you'll get my full attention straight away. But if you catch me already in the middle of 3 things, that's like, it's impossible. And my brain says no. So it's probably those things, I'd imagine. I don't know. Don't tell people how they misinterpret me. But it's probably the fact that the main thing is I don't give a lot away. So you can make your own minds up about a lot of things about me.
You're mysterious.
Up to you.
Mysterious. You want to stay mysterious. I like that.
You might be an artist out here sometimes, you know what I mean?
Can't let out too much, you know?
KC.
I'm going to get some more out of you. We'll do more. This one's just breaking you in. We'll get more out of you next time.
Do you want more?
No, I'm just...
Got more?
We'll we're just easing you into some more complicated, complex questions for Saxxon. Get to know Saxxon a little more. So this is kind of a little more, this is a very philosophical show, if you haven't noticed, like really very serious. But this one is kind of serious. If you could go back, what would you tell your 18-year-old self? And listen, not lottery numbers, not how to make money, serious something about life. Everybody's like, I would tell myself
Sports Almanac, baby. Sports Almanac. You know nothing about sports betting. I remember some of the Almanac action.
This isn't Back to the Future. All right, you ain't gonna get me on any 80s trivia. You might get me, but that's You're not gonna go get in a DeLorean and go Back to the Future and bring yourself to Sports Almanac.
Well, honestly, I was very fortunate to have a dad that encouraged me to do the things that I loved, and to always center in. If you're passionate about something, try and make that your work, because you never go to work for a day in your life, and that's obviously a good thing. So that, I guess, I already knew by the age of 18. I guess it is. I've got very roped into my work sometimes for very long periods, and not given enough time to the people that are really closest to me. I think that's probably something that every producer can think of. And then you have regrets about that, because it wasn't never as more important than the really close people. Do you know what and stuff like that. I think that I'd say always make sure you make that extra time. You're making time already to do this, make that extra time. Because I've got people that I love with my whole heart that I don't speak to as often as I should, because I feel like, oh, I must get on with this, you know, I have to do, oh, I've thought of them, but no, I'm in the middle of this right now. Make the time. I'd say make the time. I try and make more time now than I did. And I try and check in with everybody that I can. But I've got so many lovely people I met, especially through music, on top as well. And I wish I could have time to catch up with everybody as much as I liked. So the importance of connection would be a nudge. Never make music for anybody else but yourself, because I've definitely gone through periods where
that's a big one. That's a big one.
A certain label they want to be on, and I start thinking, oh, it needs to sound like that for them. No, if they were interested in you, they're interested in you with what makes you unique, not how you can replicate something that's already been on their label.
That's huge.
As far as music goes, you cannot please everybody. You can never please everybody. If I've been lucky enough on a few tunes that they've been really mass appeal, cool. That's not something I, as an artist, would be able to engineer without feeling like I was going against myself as an artist. So for those periods early on in my career, I'd have said, stick to the plan, stick to your ethos, never waver at all. I don't say I've necessarily done loads, but I've certainly had tracks that haven't come out that I've spent loads of time on before I've stepped back and gone, hang on, what am I doing? This isn't like in line with me as an artist or my sound. This is in line with what I imagine it should be. And that's you writing for somebody else. If you're writing for you, that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen now. There was a turning point, I think, when I was making the Fifth Element EP. There's a tune on it called One For Me. And it wasn't about anything about this tune is one for me. It wasn't like a love song. Yeah. It's one exactly for me. I'm trying to please myself. I've knocked everybody's voices out of my head that are waiting for various things. And I've gone, let's just please me. And that was like quite epiphanous at the moment.
Because sometimes you make some things that aren't sounding, I guess, and if you do have a sound, you think it doesn't sound like your sound. But to others, it actually kind of does. So then you're like, oh, wait a minute, I can't do this. But you like it. You're like, why can't I do this? I'm going to do this, and I'm just going to be transparent. And I'm going to do it anyway because it's about me and what I make. You know, we overthink our, you know, a lot of times and talk ourselves out of what we should or shouldn't do. But, you know, if you make what you make, it is what it is.
It is an extension of you always if you finished it. For example, like... going through the album with Sam Cabin and me feeling like it was very far away from anything else that I've done really. And nobody's heard any of it, but he's heard some tasters obviously to have this opinion. But he was like, no, it's totally you. It's just of a flavor. Like, it's definitely still you. And for me, the whole album is like not giving a fuck if it's palatable or not, just this is something I want to make. And if it gets received well, cool. If it doesn't, I can always be rest assured that it's something I wanted to make, and it's a piece of work, it's a piece of me that I'll put out. There'll be other albums, there'll be other flavors, there'll be other this is a concept album that I've made. And there'll be other concept albums and nothing like it in the future, but that's what I want to be. That's the freedom I want to take from the fact that I've never accepted being signed to any of the big labels that I work with. Bunch of them have tried to sign me, and I know the dangers of that. And what I'm doing this year, and one of the things I was talking about as far as projects and not being too wrapped up in chasing gigs, was I really want to explore the endless lack of boundary that I've created by putting myself in this position and create some projects that are unexpected and concepts and things that I want to put out into the world. Simple as that. Do you know what I mean? They can either be received well or not, that's inconsequential to me. It's the fact that I want to put projects out that aren't expected and have some fun putting them together.
Well, an album will also allow you that freedom to kind of explore other things that maybe you wouldn't normally do on like a 2-track EP, and also being at where you're at in your age and your music career allows you to start dropping all of those cares about what everybody else thinks. And not that you don't care, but you don't care. You know what I mean? Like it can sound so harsh, but it's not.
Process You can care without it affecting your process, definitely.
Yeah.
As far as I've still got singles coming out and EPs coming out that are very much the flavors you kind of expect from me. They're still coming. It's not like I've changed direction. It's just the fact I want this LP to be a piece that has a certain flavor that takes you somewhere. It takes you somewhere consistently for the whole ride. And the next time I do that, I'll want that same result, but the flavor's going to be different.
Sure. Can't wait to hear it.
Fractions album. It features Pavan from Foreign Beggars, MC Track, if he's still about, salute, MC Astro, Navigator's on there as well.
Nice.
Carousel's on there. And also a young lady called Abby Evans, who hasn't had I don't think she's had any releases yet at all.
Nice.
She's got an amazing voice.
Can't wait to hear
so
it.
all the collaborations are all vocal, basically, not production collaborations.
Good stuff. Can't wait.
I'd like to start. I'll send you something off it after this, so you can listen.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you need a beta tester.
Why not? I should certainly get you some.
Just kidding. It's all right. It's all right. Listen, I know a game. I know.
A handful of people on the phone, even nobody's actually.
I never ask for music from anybody, man. Like ever. I'll never ask anybody.
No, I think we should. I'll send you a couple to have a listen to. I'd love your opinion. So you understand a bit more where I'm coming from when I say, oh, it's maybe not quite as expected as you'd expect. But
good.
Yeah.
Outside hobbies and interests beyond music.
Quite a lot of things I like doing. I think learning myself over. I've only recently been diagnosed with ADHD. I've always known I'm a little bit differently. Did you say
ADHD? Is that what you just said?
Yeah. In the last couple of years. So I've been sort of getting my head around that a bit, because that was a bit of a knock to start with. It sort of sent me a little bit sideways.
Yeah.
A little while I was getting my head around what it meant to my ability to be confident about my abilities, so the OD is the same way, in certain departments. I was like, oh, is that misplaced confidence now now I know this about myself as a fact? But the fact of the matter is I'm just as capable as I was before, maybe more so in certain areas. But that took me a little while to get to that point. It's certainly been really hard, man. It's really, really hard. So the habits that has grown, I read into immediately all the good things you can do to do it and to counteract it without medication, which includes the daily exercise. It includes being connected to nature, includes improving your diet, reducing sugar, reducing caffeine, increasing protein, all this kind of stuff. That all goes hand in hand with being healthier. So it's kind of cool that I had that nudge. It's definitely a big stoker of the fire. So,
but that's real quick. I suffer from the same thing. So I'm just going to, I suffer from the same thing, and it takes a while and I don't take medicine for it. It could be a blessing and a curse. So if you can learn how to use it, I don't want to say to your advantage, but because with ADHD, you can either be hyper-focused or completely off. And I had to protect myself against myself. So I had to figure out the inner workings of all of how I am. And you're right. There's things that you can do to kind of, I don't want to say combat it, but learn to live with it. And and learn to live with it in a positive way and use it to your advantage. In some sort of way, you know what I mean?
Definitely. There was some articles I had, because I saw it as massively limiting when I first, man, why wasn't this found out earlier? Why didn't anybody notice at school? Things would have been loads easier if I'd have known this sooner, because I'd have known what the root cause of the problem was in certain situations, or why I just couldn't compute other people's emotions. And one of the reasons I love writing music with emotion is I find it difficult to communicate emotion outside of music. We just process emotion differently to normal human beings. So to have a way to tell my stories through music was one of the natural things I did without knowing I had it, as a way to put feelings out without knowing why I couldn't speak about them or why I couldn't put them into words. But I can certainly tell you a story with a song and help you understand my perspective, which is basically one of the things that I've always done with music without realizing why. I knew that I wasn't great at communicating emotion, and I didn't know why, but I knew that much. And that's definitely one of the reasons why I tend to do that with music, and why I also tend to use music to cement a good memory. If I had a certain situation, or a situation with my dad, or something that I never want to forget, I'll put it in a song somewhere. It might not be, there might not be a clue in the track title, there might not be any clue to the outside ear, but I know the reference, and that's for me kind of thing. a lot of times that happens. People kind of get the emotion. They don't know what it's attached to. Maybe they can relate to it in their own life that way without me forcing on the reason they feel a certain way. That's the relatability of music, I guess. So it was definitely daunting, but making these changes, moving myself to a location where I had a better chance to do those kind of things. Like I was always trying to walk every day at the studio in the UK, but it's very uninspiring. But coming out of here, I've got a mountain right there and the sea there. It's engineered to, as I said, I planned to do this years before I knew I had this issue. But to have these tools at my disposal all the time, so if I am like in a bit of a funny space with the tune or something, I need to break away, I can just go and walk up that mountain for an hour up and an hour down and work it all out in my head and come back. And that's the kind of reason I changed my mind. So my habits, really, my new hobbies are hiking, amazing hikes. Like me and Sava have got up as early as 3 a.m. to catch sunrises at the tops of the mountain, like that, and not got back till like 4 in the afternoon. Last week we did like 40 kilometers. Sunday, and it's nuts for me to see myself. Amazing. I would have died a year or two.
Yeah, it's amazing, man. Really, it's really amazing.
And now that literally just like it's easy. I do other habits and things that I like doing. I like to use when I go swimming. When I finish my swim, I do resistance boxing training in the sea using the power of the waves, and make. I've got a whole routine that I do for that, which feels awesome, and gives you a good slow down, follow through for boxing punches and stuff like that. I've got some good form now. Do that. I'm a movie buff. I love a good movie, especially sci-fi, but I like all kinds of films. I have lots of things that I like doing. I like drawing people. I like drawing in general and people. And good conversation. I've got so many habits and hobbies that that's one of the things that I had to sort of slow down a little bit because I liked doing too many things at one point. And at one point, I didn't really know whether to give music 100% or my illustration 100%. And something I learned from my dad was you have to pick one to really excel in that thing. You can't be trying to excel in two things at once. You can make one period your time to put the extra effort into one thing and the next period that. But my dad was like a jazz musician, but he was also a Formula One commentator. So he'd be playing at some jazz club till 4 o'clock in the morning on the Friday night, and then get in his car, drive to a racetrack to be up to walk the track at like 7:30 in the morning. Do the whole event as a commentator, and then go back to spend like an hour or two with the family and my mum, and then go and start in the band again. And I think my mum said to him at one point, "You're going to have to pick, dude. You're going to have to pick which thing you do."
Yeah.
I tried to take from him for that because I'm very much my father's son. And he also had two main things he loved doing, and like I do, two main things, and that's like drawing and capturing things on paper. And creating music. And for now, I'm putting the effort in. I'm trying to do more drawing at the minute. I'm definitely taking more time to do it. But yeah, music's the
obviously
main thing.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about you, but you sound a lot. It sounded like you were describing me. I like to do so much, and I like to anything that I do. I like to go like all in 150%, which leads me to overextend myself. I was taking some acting classes, I do some photography, some design, some music, and I just feel like my mentality is, well, we're here, we should try to do as much as possible, take advantage of our time here, but then I can't just do one thing. I can't. It's almost like, so my ADHD just makes me feel like I need to do everything 100%, and it literally overextends me, and it's exhausting. It's exhausting. It's good because it makes you want to do things, but then I'm like,
you want to try everything.
My brain wants to do everything.
For a minute to see if you like it. I totally get it. It's the need for constant stimulation.
That's what it is. You just nailed it. That's exactly what it is.
Constant stimulation. Yep. And that's not bad attention. I don't care about social media. I don't care about it's a tool to do my job. People
Yeah.
say I'm good at it. I just use it, do you know what I mean, to communicate and then come out of it, because it's a big waste of time. And you've got this whole world of things you can try and do. And you can try something once and not like it, but at least you tried
At
it.
least you tried it.
You don't try it, you don't know. So if something's interesting, I definitely recommend having a go and see if it works for you.
There's so much
the
stuff to do.
stimulation is a bit is much sometimes, but that's why we have to can't play tricks on ourselves to keep us in the mode. How about you? Do you find if you stay up all night and you go push past that very last wave of tiredness and you go to the next realm, something magical happens where you're like a normal human being that can link every job? I suddenly get my list up and I'm going through it twice as fast. I enter this new realm of consciousness by being awake too long. I'm not talking about any stimulation apart from coffee or water or anything.
Well, I don't do anything anymore anyway. I mean, I don't drink or do anything, but I think the body and this whole experience is a pretty amazing thing. I think we're capable of doing so much more than we tell ourselves to. So we limit ourselves by where our mind goes. So I always say, where your mind goes, your energy flows. So I don't tell myself can't. I don't use blame or excuses. I don't limit myself to any of that stuff, which is a good and bad, because again, it makes me think that I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and I'm going to do all of these things because I can, which is great. But like you said, it kind of takes focus off of one thing, because you're trying to do everything as good as you want to do that one thing. And it can be tiring. It can be very exhausting.
Yeah, and it's fully gangster to make a plan and stick to it. That's the most gangster thing you can do.
It's true.
Make a plan. So when it comes to the tune brief or just what you decided was the most important task for today, it's super gangster to finish those things before you start something else. And the days when I achieve that, it's like magical. It's not every day. I wish it was every day, but that's why I make these adjustments around it, to try and hone me and hone my brain and hone everything that I've got to make the most of each day. Like you said, we're only here once. You've got to make use of the time.
I try to make use of it. You know what, though? I think it's amazing, though, that you acknowledged it, you learned from it, and once you acknowledge and learn some things about yourself, sometimes it takes 20 years. Once you can acknowledge it, and sometimes we don't want to acknowledge things about ourselves, but once we take a look inward and see some of the things, we make enormous strides forward. You know what I mean? Like, you're like, oh, because a lot of times some of these things can be very frustrating. Like you said, in school, you didn't know why you couldn't focus, or this or that. But then, like, when you find out and the light bulb goes off, you're like, oh, okay, so there's things I can do to live with it and not, necessarily let it kind of change how you live your life, but you can live with it in a positive way instead of letting it kind of control you in a negative way.
Definitely, man. Definitely. That's the journey I've been on for the last couple of years, really. And how to remove as many of the detriments as possible. And as I said, make them a positive thing as much as you can.
Yeah.
And then I had all when people were close to me, I'd be like, right, just know that I've got this. If there's a really annoying sound, I'm not going to be able to stay quiet. All these little silly quirks I had no reason to have, no fundamental reason why I had this list of rules to be like too close to me. Just be where my mainly chill, but sometimes this pisses me off. I don't know why. It just triggers something in me. And now it's like, oh, I do know why. It's when you've got ADHD, sound is like massively accelerated when you're in a heightened state. Smells are accelerated when you're in a heightened state. They become irritating rather than just like, that's a thing. Honestly, I was having that heightened state a couple of years ago at some point during every day, and it was really getting me down. It's like, what is this? It comes out of nowhere. I'm like, everything's like well over the top. And by doing my habits and doing all these things, though, when it happens, it's like, whoa, was I doing this every day? Now it's like once every 3 or 4 months, or maybe I haven't done my habits today, and a few stressful things accumulate at the same time. And it's like, oh, damn, I used to be like this nearly all the time. Oh my God, what a nightmare that must have been
Well,
to
good
be
for you,
around.
man. You know what I said? It like acknowledging it and being able to at least recognize it is huge. That's a huge step forward.
Yeah, honestly, I feel the progression's been pretty good over the last couple of years. I've got a long way to go with it, but
Well, we're still humans, you know what I mean? If we had all the answers, we wouldn't need to be here anymore, you know what I mean? So I think we need to be easy on ourselves a little bit too. You know, sometimes we think we should know more, but like life is pretty much school for the soul, you know what I mean? Like we're all learning still. Like you're not done learning, so got to be easy on
the day
yourself
you
a little
reckon
bit.
you are, you should probably count out because we every day always is a
Yeah.
school.
Yeah, if you feel like you don't have you know, you have nothing to learn, then, you know, what's the point? I mean, even with music or whatever it is you do, just about life in general, there's always something you can learn or improve on.
Yeah, baby.
Always.
That's when people ask me, "Where's your gigs at?" And I'm like, honestly, that's not my priority at the minute. My
Hmm.
priority is honing the person and my daily life to my best
Good
potential,
for
so
you, man.
I can come with the best me for everything, for music, the people around me, people I love, everything. Do you know what I mean? Because it was a confusing time for a while. I love
Hmm.
basically just as I started having music release, literally a bit moody. But the weekend I had my first meeting with V. My dad passed that weekend, so
Oh
I
man, sorry to
came
hear that.
in to the
Yeah.
scene grieving. Came into the scene
Hmm.
not really wanting too much attention,
Yeah.
not really wanting people to be in my inbox constantly asking me for
Hmm.
stuff. I just
Yeah.
want to write music, um, and that's taken because of going from being fairly private to fairly public fairly
Yeah,
quickly.
and that's a challenge. Yep.
But at the time, perhaps I
Hmm.
wasn't really in the state to be
Hmm.
doing that. But honestly, the last conversation I had with my dad was the fact I had a meeting coming up at V. And he was really
Hmm.
proud. And he was like, "This is what I've been watching your son. He's been working really hard. This is what it's been for. It's what it's going towards." So the last thing I was going to do was to cancel this meeting and not go, given
Hmm.
what had happened in between. Um, so yeah, that has been something that's been a challenge. It has been one of the
Hmm.
reasons why I keep a little bit distant. Do you know what I mean? Because of how I came in at the time and the timing that it happened at. But honestly, having that bit of distance thing, there's nothing. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think allowing your. I mean, for example, recently I've not been using my socials much at all, and I go to post
Hmm.
something and suddenly I haven't got any reach because I haven't been feeding the Tamagotchi every day. And it's like, is that people not interested, or is it just the fact that I've not earned my place in the
Hmm.
algorithm by constantly doing it? Honestly, I don't give a shit. If it's algorithms off, who cares? Like the most important thing, honestly, for me, is that I'm doing the work I'm meant to be doing, creating what I'm meant to be creating. The people wanting to look will be looking. The other people will find it
It's
another
true.
time. All that pressure people put on
Yeah.
themselves to be creating content on all their platforms every single day has got to be a detriment. There's got to be a detriment to your ability to create what you're actually meant to be doing. Um, Unless you're one of those really very special people that's always 100% on 24/7. So yeah, focus on your work. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? That's what I'm saying.
Well, and let's be honest, man. Like a lot of us are introverts, so we're introverted by nature. As far as like being in the artist part is introverted, at least for me. And then you also need to be, like you said, you're a private person, and you know, you're expected to be, you know, in the public. I don't want to say spotlight, but you know, socials and all that stuff. You kind of got to flip the switch a little bit. And that's not always easy to do, especially if there's something in your life that's going on that's personal to you and it's affecting you. But then you got to paint this, you don't have to, but people expect you to paint this picture of the always happy guy. And that can be a hard balance, you know?
Yeah, honestly, because my socials are a very positive place. I only try and talk about positive things. Um, I got to send love to my brothers and sisters in Colombia right now because I was trying to make sure that the word got out about what was happening there with the awful treatment of the protesters and civilians um, on their side. But sometimes when I write that, I'm like, there's nothing about this I can soften up. I want to write this nicer. I want to write this post about it a bit softer and a bit friendlier and be more me. But I'm not. I'm currently very heightened about this
Mm,
situation. I can't tone down if I want to swear in or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
It's just
yeah,
what comes out. I'm not going to
yeah.
tone it down. It is truly me again. Do you know what I mean? And if I'm frustrated and angry, that's gonna. And I
And you should
was
always be
frustrated.
you.
If
Yeah,
I tone
yeah,
that down at all, that would be some fucking bullshit. I
right.
wasn't. I was pissed off. that people I know and love have been put in this horrific situation over there. I'm sending love to everybody in Colombia. I'm thinking of you all. In fact, I was supposed to be dropping my NFT thing like Thursday as the actual opening it. But I just was not feeling like self-promoting something at all when my friends and people that I know and love are in such a shit situation. I couldn't do it. I think I'm going to have to drop it tomorrow just for timing and start rolling it. But the last thing I want to do when somebody I know is hurting is be like, anyway, cool, I've got this album coming.
Yeah. I'm sorry to hear that your life is awful, but I do have a new album coming out. Maybe you'll get some enjoyment out of that.
Yeah, it just doesn't work for me. So sorry to everybody that's been waiting for that doc to go live. Honestly, it doesn't mix in my head. It doesn't mix in my head promoting something.
Sure. No, I get it.
It's not like, it's one thing being detached. We're so used to being detached through the news and all these things happening around the world. You can't feel for everybody. It'd be impossible to feel for every situation that you're aware of in the world. That's one of the issues with the news. Because if you're an empath, you're in that position anyway.
Absolutely.
But when you physically know the people, and these are people you know, respect, love, and care for, the last thing I can then do is just switch that off. Yeah. So it'd be great if I could be pro.
Well, if you were a sociopath, you could, you know what I mean? But you're not a sociopath.
I'm not that much of a sociopath.
If you were just like, numb the whole time, I guess you could, but.
Yeah, but yeah, just sending love to all those guys. Anything else you need us to pass on forward. Sorry to people who find that like uncomfortable, but it's currently happening. It's super levels of wrongness. So yeah, any ideas and thoughts? We're all open, and things you want us to pass on to our socials. If you're getting restricted, if you're seeing this, send it to my inbox and we'll get it out.
Well, Saxxon, I can't thank you enough. Been an absolute pleasure to have you. I mean that.
Being here with you, KC.
Absolute pleasure. You're one of the guys that DJ Mona Lisa, one of her favorite producers. Twitch chat. And likewise, so that's where I was going. You're one of the guys that anytime a release was coming out, I'm not going to lie, man, like there was a couple of things that I was like, man, I'd like to reach out to that guy and see if I can get some music. Because everything that was coming out was so good. I'm like, man, don't be that guy, man. Like, don't be that guy. I wanted to be that guy.
You know me, man. It's different. It's not some random person I don't know.
Well, before I was gonna be that guy, is what I'm saying. Like, everything you're putting out, I'm like, man, this guy's making some just bangers all the time.
Thanks, bro.
All the time, man.
Well, if you're not disappearing after we finish, just give me 10 more minutes and I'll show you a couple of things.
Would love to. And beyond that, man, like I said, the music, I'm so grateful for the music. The love for the music is one thing, but the people that it brings you in touch with is a whole nother story. So that's why I'm doing this, people like you and everybody that I've met through the years, just amazing people like yourself, man, just positive people with great things going on, and especially hearing where you're at right now is incredible. Absolutely incredible.
It's been a journey, bro.
I'm gonna go jump in the lake, man. It's cold right now. Listen. I'm not even joking. After talking to you, I'm motivated. It's inspirational.
Well, we'll talk some more about that.
I mean that.
There's some magic to be had and it's beyond any of the specifics. Just allow yourself to be surprised by what the human body can do.
Listen, I'm open. My mind, as far as with that stuff, as far as universe and deep and keep it, I'm all about that anyway. So, from hearing you speak about it, and then again, another friend swears by it. I think I'm something definitely gonna look into, without a doubt.
Mate, I've wanted throughout lockdown really to be the guy on the video going, right, I hate to be the preacher guy, but seriously.
Listen, if something's working for you, though, it's hard not to be, you know what I mean? I mean, really, it's not that you're preaching, it's working for you.
Or medication, you can just try it once.
Sure.
And if it feels good or not. That's the cool thing that's the difference between this and lots of other.
Well, there's a big difference between getting to the root and then taking something. I'm not saying I'm not against taking anything, but we can get to the root of things sometimes by looking inward and doing things naturally that sometimes meds, and I've been on meds before, and it turned me into a zombie, you know, and as soon as I started looking more inward and getting to the root, I didn't need that stuff anymore. So again, I'm not judging anybody. It's just that was my personal experience. You know?
You know what I mean? If you can avoid it. And yeah, I mean, having a better knowledge of self is always a super valuable thing. Whatever it's connected to, do you know what I mean?
Everything flows from you, man.
It gives you peace and improved ability to focus in our special headspaces that we're at is pretty fucking cool, man.
Thank you again. Is there any, before we go though, what's coming up and anything you'd like to plug? Albums, releases.
Doing some daily exercise if they're not doing it already.
Good one.
Plug.
Yeah.
A passion and taking 2 minutes a day to work on that. That's enough. That's how you start building a brick wall, one brick at a time. Do you know what I mean? If you weren't making the time for it, try and make a bit of time for the thing that makes you feel good, because that will knock into everything else. And then as far as like me, I just joined Twitch. I haven't really done much pimping yet, but I've got a Saxxon Music Twitch.
Good, get on Twitch.
I'm going to start doing some broadcasts on that very soon. I am doing the Mission for Mine next Saturday. For Bad Habits and MC Frost, they're doing a walk from block to block down to Cool FM, sponsored walk. And we're doing a stream to celebrate that, which is a ticketed stream. I think it's like £3 a ticket, but it all goes, 100% of everything goes to Mind. And given the conversation we're having, it's an important thing to be supporting other people where they have some improvements to be made in that department. Obviously, my Fractions album, that's going to be June. I'm going to give you a couple of little plays out in a minute. And then I've got, if we're plugging this, there's a real long list. But Original Key EPs finished and ready to roll. There's an EP for my buddies at Digital Terror. There's an EP for Weapons of Choice. They're the main indie EPs I'm doing in the next little while.
Damn, man.
And then they're all done. There's some remixes, some bootlegs coming. I've got another bootleg coming from Riot Dubs. I've done Lee Scratch Perry Vibrate On, which I'll send you in a minute. And a Sunshine bootleg for Wonky Goose in Bristol. And they're going to be both free downloads.
Man.
And then Chronic album is getting close to completion.
Looking forward to that.
Which is a compilation I'm presenting with some cool tunes.
Man.
So
killing it.
And some other bits.
Killing
it. Because that's the thing, like you say, you don't want to talk up too much. And
yeah, I know. Yeah.
So that's where I get caught. What do I say on social media today? I need to say something. And it's like, well, no. Let me just hold back till I got all these things sorted. But there's some other stuff too. There's a lot of liquid I've been writing. I'm not sure quite what I'm going to do yet, but I want to get that out for the summer.
Yeah, good stuff, man.
And then Saxxon.space is my website if you want to get on there for looking at NFT stuff or...
What's your Twitch?
On there, there's going to be some other stuff. There's a link to my Twitch if you want to go through to... I'll add some more stuff.
Cool.
But yeah, things, brother.
Lots of things, man. Kidding me? Crazy. Busy man over there in paradise.
Don't think that the EPs all just came together like that. Some of them are very long time. I've been working.
You got a magic wand. We know you have somebody writing that stuff for you while you're swimming in the cold water.
Mate, you wouldn't believe the amount of ideas you get from getting, even if a cold shower. You have to have the sea. If you're looking at this going, but I haven't got the sea. Swimming pool's grim. Yeah. You can have a 3-minute cold shower and let your mind wander, and you won't be. I'm
gonna go take a cold shower right now. I'm not even joking. I'm not joking.
There's a reason why it's been done for thousands of years. It's not like some newfangled, just like meditation is not some hippie thing from the 70s. It's been going for thousands of years. It must have some weight.
It must work, yeah. The ancients been doing it.
It's gone way before people could pay monthly for a subscription service and therefore have a motivation.
How do you think people were cleaning up, back in the old times? They didn't have hot water.
Exactly. Just one token a week, bag of gold coins, and you can sign up to my meditation service. 2000 AD.
Church of Drum and Bass said thank you for the great interview. Thank you. By the way, thank you so much for the sub. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. So
We love the church drum bass. I love my T-shirt. I rock it regularly.
yeah, good. Yeah, good stuff. Alex over there and that whole crew are doing great things. Yeah, salute. Hey, can you give us before you go? Can you give us the trout face? Yeah, man.
Power trout.
Did you say
Turbo.
Did you say power trout?
Power trout.
Man, that was
So
full.
you
Never
have to
go
shake
full trout.
fingers and
Never go
shake
full
it.
trout face. Ooh, yeah, man.
What you got? What are you packing?
It's nice, man.
Have you got one?
I'm not. Listen. My face cannot do that. I've tried it in the mirror. I can't do it.
There we go. He's rolling it. You got the beard, little frame around the beard. That's beautiful. I love it. You smashed it. There we go.
It hurts, man. My jaw was shaking. What are you trying to get me to do, man? My jaw's gonna lock up or something.
You got to get the lockjaw for the full trout.
Oh, how funny would that be?
Not true, guys. You don't really have to do that. But yeah, that is.
Oh, Sam Frater decided to show up in the Facebook chat. He probably just woke up. He said, I need to take a shower.
I don't believe it.
This is what he does. He comes in fashionably late. You know what I mean?
We're just literally about to finish, Sammy.
That's probably why he's showing up. He knows it started at hours ago. He's like, I'm going to show up.
Stop.
Tells me I need to take a shower. Every time I call him, he's getting in the bathtub. I guess that's good, though. At least I know he's clean for the most part.
Very clean. He smells like soap at all times. I like that about him.
He says he's going to do this at one point, but he's too concerned about... I got to make sure it's in the right location, mate.
Don't worry about nothing like that, Sam. It'll be fine. Just get on it. Fucking hell. I don't believe it.
We go back and forth. Like, I'll imitate him because he thinks I sound like an Australian. I can't do an accent. I'm always like, hey, how you doing today, mate? And he's like, this Australian. So then he'll imitate me imitating him, and then I'll imitate him imitating me, and by the end of it, it's like this. It's a disaster. Doesn't sound like anybody.
Like Inception, the natty version. Incredible.
Well, thank you again, Saxxon. Absolute pleasure.
Awesome.
Absolute pleasure.
Thanks for having me, Casey. Mental. Chilling.
Very grateful. Thanks, man.
Big salute to everybody that locked on. If you did.
Saxxon was like, hey, can we keep it to an hour? Well, we did, plus an hour.
We had an hour with a bonus hour.
You got lucky. You got a bonus hour.
It's like Five Guys. Always put a few more fries in the bag. Unexpected.
I told you were going to open up deepest and darkest secrets. I knew you would. Sam's calling me a wanker. You're a wanker, mate. See that? I do it pretty.
Hey, g'day, mate. Here's a bloody wanker. Here's, mate. Put another shrimp on the cabin fever.
That's one of the things I say to him. Shrimp on the barbie, mate. And he's like, that's not even, that's Crocodile Dundee. That's not, you're not. But you know what? To me, I think it's good. I think it's good. It's all that matters.
He was British at some point in history. The Australians, just not very recently, not this generation.
Well, that's his British. That's my British accent, and I'm sticking with it.
It's fine. I'm gonna do an attempt at a Cleveland accent. Be fine.
Well, anytime he tries to do like an American accent, it's full on hillbilly. That's how he thinks we. That's how we. I guess we're all hillbillies over here. I don't want to get into this. Maybe we are. I don't know.
I got to hear that.
Saxxon, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Can't wait to hear the new music. Thank you all for tuning in, aside from Sam.
Sam, we love you.
Yeah, we do love you, Sam.
We love you
very
extra,
much.
Sam.
Extra.
Not too much.
Thanks again, man. I hope you have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful weekend. Everybody, hope you do the same. And Thursdays and Saturdays. We'll have you back on. Would you come back on, please?
Yeah, not so many bloody questions next time. Jesus. Oh my God.
Listen, I try to speed it up too. You were just talking a lot. I knew you were. See, once you get going, I'm telling you, man. I have that like.
Coffee.
It's my nice, soothing, sultry voice. It's hypnotizing.
It really is. I've been mesmerized the whole 2 hours.
I knew you were. You just wanted to talk and answer questions.
Oh yeah, here we are. Well, thank you for having me.
No, thank you. You have a great day, and we'll speak soon. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. Hope you all have a great day. Have a great weekend. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there.
Yes.
Let's do a trout. I'm gonna do a trout face and a salute. Signing off. It's trout face and a salute. Hey. Bye. Till next time.